The handover has happened on the 688 car. Better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Yeah. I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit scared. I'm nervous.
It's good. Check up for this next one.
They're going to make their off-road racing debut. I've wanted this my whole life, eh? I think today is probably one of the most exciting days of my life. Now, first of all, before we get into it, we got to say a thank you to the person that made this all happen. And here she is. What's up, babe? Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yes, but this, I mean, you've wanted this forever.
Are you happy for Daddy?
Yes.
I've wanted this my whole life, eh?
Oh.
And I've worked my ass off. Remember, what was it, last year, the year before, we were in America?
Yes.
And we were over at the Tisco workshop, and the pipe dream was to buy a brand new Tisco trophy truck.
Total kid in a candy store.
And if you don't know, now you know. We're at Tisco. The jig table, all chassis come off this jig?
All chassis.
So who's this for?
This is going to be our newest 7200 build for the Honda team. All 6100 chassis.
It's pretty good, eh? Are you eating yourself or what?
Yeah. This is awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Is this exciting or what?
It is.
Can I have one?
No.
This
It's a
is
no.
the finance department right here. Share, please. I'll do anything you want.
Ooh.
Anything you want. I want one. I figured out how we could do it though.
Oh, babe, you figure out how you can do everything.
If we sell the house.
Oh, okay, and we can live.
If we sell the house, we build camper trailers. We could live in a camper trailer, right?
Yeah.
And we could just travel around and just do the race circuit. And the kids could be the mechanics. Mia could be my nav.
Yeah.
And you can homeschool the kids.
Go back.
Yeah, but we couldn't quite put that together. We're not there yet. I've got the very next best thing. You excited?
I'm super excited. I'm excited. You're excited, and you've got something that you can put all your energy into.
And guess what? This is my new navigator.
Yeah. No.
Actually, no, not happening. Before we get into it, boys, Dave, the handover has happened on the 688 car. Now, the Polaris Razor for me has what's really got me started in off-road racing.
Yes.
Off-road racing.
Bruh.
Yeah. Now, Christian and Ashton own the 688 car. How are we going to do this when we get into a race? 2 kids, 1 car?
Sharing's caring.
Sharing and caring, they always go together.
Well, kind of.
Sharing is caring. New mum in the background?
Basically, if it's like a 2-day race, or if there's two races, one of us drives one while the other one navies, and then we just switch over. That do that.
So they're going to make their off-road racing debut. They're going to share the driving and the navigating in the car. We'll see how they both go. If they've both got the ability and they can steer, there might be another one on. And then Dave, you've got 3 cars to take care of.
Yeah, apparently.
3 cars, 1 mechanic. How do you reckon these 2 are going to go in the 688 car?
I reckon they're going to crush it.
Are you sad to see me out of it?
In a way I am, but I'm excited for what's coming.
Yeah.
And what's coming is right behind me. Guys, here it is, the brand new Patriot Campers Get Performance Trophy Truck. Here it is, the trophy truck. I finally got one. Now, if you're a fan of Patriot Games and you've been watching me race Fink over the past 3 years, come on, mate, get on the horn. Gate coming through. Oh my God, yeah! Here, you know, we got there and back. We got there and back. This is it. Come on, mate. Come on. I'm going.
Go, boys, ending it!
It's over. We obviously didn't prepare enough, you know, it's over. Caution. Hold on, mate. Full stand. No. Caution. Ah! Now, the Polaris Razor has been amazing for me. It's taught me so much, but this just takes it to a whole nother level. Now, like I said before, I do have a fair bit of history actually with this particular truck that you see right beside me. I'll make the point in saying it's not a brand new truck. This truck was built a couple of years ago in San Diego by a really good mate of mine named Gene Towler. Now, back in 2012, really good buddy of mine, Dan, bought one of Gene's Class 1 buggies. Now, Gene just started this company called Get Performance, and he was really focusing on building high quality, high-end buggies for the Australian off-road racing community. And so in 2012, I got the opportunity to navigate for my buddy. We went out and raced Finke, and that was the first time I ever actually went out into the territory. It's the first time I went to the Finke Desert race. And I was blown away. I was hooked. We ran really well. I think we finished about 5th in class in our first race. We went and raced the Gundy 400. Not long after that, we done really well down there as well. Whilst this was happening, my mate Gene, he started building a couple of 6100 trucks. One to come over to Australia and one for a team that's still running in the United States. Now, the guy who actually commissioned this truck to be built, funnily enough, was here on the Gold Coast. After my visit to Tisco, I couldn't quite put the funding together to afford a brand new truck. I come back here and I was a little bit kind of devastated after that. Sarah and I, we tried to work every single way that we could to get me into a trophy truck. And as fate would have it was meant to be. I got a phone call from another good mate of mine and said, hey, do you remember that Get Performance 6100 trophy truck that Gene built a couple of years back? Well, I know where it is and I know who's got it and the guy's not racing it. I found the truck, went down to Burleigh, we put it together, and now you can see the truck is here. I actually bought this truck to race Finke. Finke got cancelled due to the global pandemic this year, and we've pretty much stripped the whole car down, rebuilt as best as we possibly can. Gene's going to come out prior to Finke next year. We're going to tear this thing down to the chassis, make all the updates that he wants to make, that he's running on the sister truck of this that's running really well in the Baja. It's run the 1000 and the 500 and the whole Best in the Desert series, finishes every race. This thing is world class. So there's the background history on how I've ended up with a Get Performance 6100 class trophy truck. My new navigator is going to be turning up here very, very shortly, and probably the only person I want sitting beside me when I get to do 200 kilometres an hour over 1 metre deep holes heading down into Finke next year. Let's get into it. Here we go. Now, I don't know everything about these things yet. Guys that know a little bit more than me, I'll tell you what I do know. But for people who don't really understand what these things are about, let's run through it. Now, like I touched on just before, the full-scale trophy trucks that they run in the United States, they all run big blocks, and now they're running up to about 1,000 horsepower. This thing that you see here in Australia, we're limited to a 6-litre engine. We can't go any bigger than that. We'll get into the tech specs a little bit later on, but roughly it makes somewhere between 600 and 650 horsepower. We're running on 40-inch tyres, as you can see here. Front end, I've got about 600 millimetres of travel on the 40s, and in the rear end, I've got about 950 millimetres of travel. What these things are designed to do is hit the roughest terrain at the highest speeds possible. There is no materials in the world that exists that can really sustain the ongoing punishment that you can give that material when it comes to trophy truck racing. Every race, this whole car gets tore down to the chassis. We'll replace all the consumable items, the heim joints, the ball joints, everything that's bolted to the chassis, tune all the shocks again. And the ongoing work, the maintenance, is now Dave is going to be full-time concentrating on the 2 race cars. Now, a question that you get asked a lot is, what's it based off of? What chassis is it? Well, it's a full custom chassis. So Gene, they design all of these things up in CAD. The whole frame is chromoly. They have a big flat jig table where they put in all these jig supports. All the tube is all laser cut. So we're familiar with those sorts of processes. And they assemble it on a jig table, clamp the whole thing together. The whole frame gets 2 passes of welds over it. I think to weld one of these, it's something like 250 to 300 hours just to weld the frame on it. So that gives you some sort of idea on the work. The rear end, we got massive trailing arm suspension in the back. TubeWorks rear diff, which is about, I think it's a 9.5 inch center on there. The punishment that these things can take is just absolutely ridiculous. In the front end, we're running independent suspension. So independent at the front, chromoly upper and lower control arms, and then your trailing arm in the back. So fundamentally, the systems that they've been developed over the years of trophy truck racing, that's what Polaris have taken and created the Razor. So it's the same style of setup. The big difference between the two cars, between last year's car, the Polaris or the trophy truck, is the Polaris is 4-wheel drive. This thing here is 2-wheel drive. Coming around the back of the truck, we hold about 360 litres of fuel. So it's a special mixed fuel. It's got about 5% ethanol. We're running this on 102. They chew about 1 litre per kilometre. So you put that into perspective. The run down to Fink, 225 kilometres, we're going to do about 225 litres of gas. We've got everything here in the rear of the truck to change a tyre and some very small repairs. So when it comes to spare parts, we're going to carry with us obviously a spare tyre, everything we need to change that tyre, and we'll carry engine belts with us. In the longer races like Fink, we've got a tail shaft holder up at the top. We'll take a tail shaft with us as well. Moving down the side, mod that we've made, we've put in the GME whip. We've repainted the body on the truck as well. The truck used to be silver. We've matched it up to the 688 car. You'll see my new number, 484. 484 actually doesn't have any meaning to me. I just thought it was cool with a 4 and 8 and then another 4. That was about it. So I suppose the thing is, there's going to be your techie guys out there that want all the specs, right? Yeah. So let's run through what we do know. We haven't torn this engine down. This engine's fresh. It's just been built, but it's a machined LS block, 6 litre, like we said. Brodix heads. They're LS7 head that's on them, so they're probably a bit big for this engine, eh?
A little big, you know, a bit bigger horsepower, but that's not a lose out on our sense. Yeah,
they flow really well. There's a big Messier front plate on the engine that picks up all the accessories. Messier water pump. Dry sump, so this is running a daily dry sump. You can actually see in here behind me. Yeah. This is the dry sump tank. So for the people who don't know, dry sump, there is no oil pickup, there's no sump. There's still a pan down there, but the pan holds a minimum volume of oil. The big volume of oil is up in here, so we don't get oil surge. The problem with the off-road racing engines is harmonics, right? So if you think about any other sort of style of race car that runs down the track, they're on tarmac. When they've got a consistent RPM, they just hold that RPM. You know, you hear a race car going down a straight and it's like, rant. With a trophy truck, you're hitting like metre holes at 200 kilometres an hour. Yeah. So the harmonics of the engine is like, rah, 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 rah. And what that does is destroys valve trains. And that's why there's only a handful of people in Australia that can build off-road racing engines,
That's right. Yeah. There's just so much extra thought to go in, timing chains, everything.
Cam profiles are really, really big deal when it comes to off-road racing engines with everything that we've kind of discovered. So I think there's going to be a lot to learn here. It's not like a normal engine builder can put one of these together, because what these trucks go through is probably the gnarliest stress that you can put on an engine, hey? Yeah. Now, we're pretty lucky here on the Gold Coast that the Gold Coast is home of motorsports in Australia,
Oh, yeah.
isn't it? Two of my buddies, twins, like the boys, that own High Talk Performance.
Yeah.
Dallas and Kent, they had this on the dyno for us last week. Was that not a cool day?
That was when we got to see this thing.
Yeah, so they just put in a brand new hub dyno. So we take the rear wheels off, we bolt directly to the hubs of the car and into the dyno, so we're getting full traction on it. What did we make? 540?
540.
But don't tell any of our competitors that.
No.
So if any of our competitors, turn it off right now. 540 at the wheels on the hub, so that equates to, with the 6-speed, with the Albans, you're probably 15-20% loss, somewhere between 600 650 horsepower.
Yeah, you're pushing a lot of heavy duty weight, heavy duty gear.
We let the rev limiter run out to 8,000 RPM, so we were bouncing this thing off rev limiter at 8,000 RPM, but as a safety precaution, Mr. Safety over here, he turned it down to 7,400.
But no power loss.
No power loss at 7,400,
so,
yeah.
Safe tune.
Yeah. High Talk, thank you very much. They're going to be taking care of all of the tuning for us moving forward. All right, let's get off the truck. I'm going to run through the suspension.
Yeah, I'll keep going with the boys.
Let's do it. I'm going to show you this 600 millimeters of travel. For those of you who are watching and going, no way. Christian and Ashton are pulling out, well, actually, here's a quick plug. Brand new Max Trax recovery kits. We just got them, they're prototypes. So we're going to be using them over the next couple of weekends. We're going to rig this up to the front of the truck. We're going to get the little forklift out. We're going to lift up the front of the truck and we'll show you guys the full travel of suspension. And you will probably understand when you see the travel why I'm starting to get a little bit nervous about driving. I'm not going to use the word scared, even though I'm scared. I'm definitely starting to get nervous. Taking tension. Right, so we're going from standard ride height. You can see the truck right there, the way that it's sitting. I'm going to show you, we're going to lift it up before the wheels come off the ground and you'll see how much suspension travel we get out of this thing here. Here we go. So about there, tyres just come off the ground there. Here's where you start seeing the craft that comes into a trophy truck. Now, I've been around sheet metal my entire life. I've owned sheet metal shops. I still own sheet metal shops. Laser cutting, fabricating, bending. I've got to say, these guys that fabricate these trucks, and specifically Gene from GET, who built this truck, everything that he does, he obviously does by hand. There's no robotic welding that goes into any of these trucks. All of the major geometry components, like your suspension and your chassis, are all CAD designed and they're all jigged. But then all of the tabs, everything is made by hand. So if you see the uprights in this truck here, your lower control arms, your upper control arms, like I said, are all chromoly. The art that goes into them is obviously your stress points and where those arms are going to fatigue. But when it gets into the components, I mean, you can see the size of the heim joints that go into the truck. Now these, you know, if you're doing, in Australia, we might get 2 races out of them. In the United States, the big races, you know, your 500 mile and 1,000 mile races, they're tearing these things down on absolutely every single race and replacing all of that. Steering rack at the top, you can see that in there. That's one of the big changes that is coming. The sister car for this one over in the States, they've changed up the geometry there on the steering rack. We've got big limit straps in the back here, so you can see those with the CarTech logo on them. The limit straps are helping to preserve the shocks, obviously, so we're not overextending the shocks because the car spends a lot of time in the air. What we're running here is a King 4.0 triple bypass shock with a remote reservoir, but the amount of adjustment that we have in there is going to be the biggest thing that we need to learn about this truck. So when we do get out to test it, every truck is going to be completely different. Look, let's do the same exercise at the back. So there's your kind of 600 mil of travel. You can see, you know, how big the truck is looking right now. It looks completely pissed off, and this is the way that I want to see it, you know, with the body on it. But when you see what happens in the rear when we get that 900 mil, it's quite intense. So let's go down the back, we'll get the fork on there and have a look. So you can see the limit straps here in the back. Watch when the limit straps take up. So just about there. So that is the travel that we've got in the rear of the truck. You can see the trailing arms at the back. Again, triple bypasses in the rear.
What was up to?
Oh, here we go.
You guys can't be left with anything nice, eh?
Told you he'd turn up. What's up, man? What's going on? So for this year, for this season, I've ditched Tommy. And I know that sounds harsh.
Sorry, Tommy.
Yeah, sorry, Tom, but Jamie's back. You remember Jamie from season 1 of Patriot Games, my older brother.
Picked up a rock, I think, and he's punctured the steel brake line that comes off the caliper. Yeah. That's the diff. Smack.
Am I just going through?
Yeah, just go through real slow. Just cut it through.
There we go. There we go. That's exactly what we need.
There's your right tools. Go.
Good job. Awesome. Once again. So Jamie was working for Subaru, directly for Subaru in the United States for about 8 years when the WRX first launched.
Yep.
So Jamie's WRX was running 1040s, the second Subaru in Australia that got into the 10s.
Second in the world.
Second in the world that got into the 10-second bracket. He got poached by Subaru in the United States. Ended up going over there, and the drag cars it started with.
Drag cars, road racing, rally racing,
Yeah.
just about all of it.
There's really 3 main jobs for the Navi, right? Number 1, keeping me cool.
Handbrake.
Yep, handbrake. So he's got to slow me down and make sure that I'm not driving past my capacity. Number 2, he's got to know where we're going, but I think the most important thing is he's got to have the mechanical knowledge. So he's keeping an eye on everything that's going on with the car, and let's jump in the car and we'll show him through what your job actually is. Well, we're inside the truck. Feel like home or not?
Just about.
It does, eh? It feels like home, and it kind of feels like fighter pilot stuff. Like, you like Top Gun too, eh?
Favourite movie.
Yeah. I'm Maverick, he's Goose.
Talk to me, Goose. Roger, I got him. Contact 20 left at 30 miles, 900 knots closure. I feel the need for speed.
Let's run through your side first. Let's run through the navigator's role.
So pretty much with the Lowrance HDS9, this is where we're going to do our mapping and logging, be setting all of our waypoints. This is how I'll know when to slow Justin down with what's coming ahead. So we'll be pro-logging this vehicle, which means we'll be running the track prior to the race, and I'll be setting some waypoints. I'll be setting rock, left, we'll be coming to some whoops, and this will tell me when we're coming close, and I'll be alerting Justin. The driver gets excited, he's full of adrenaline, especially Justin, we know what he's like, and he's going to be flat.
Yeah.
Sometimes finishing the race a bit slower is better than not finishing at all. So my job is to keep him on point and on task.
Yeah, but there is another saying there. If you ain't first, you're last. Ricky Bobby, yeah?
Gene, if you ain't first, you're last. You know what I'm talking about? That phrase is trademark, not to use it as a position of Ricky Bobby.
Keep going.
Now the other thing that's going to be happening is here on the Motec, this will be doing all of our logging. I get to see all the pressures, what's going on with the engine. We have our switchboard down here where I'll be able to set, if I see the temperatures are getting a bit high, I'll be able to play with the different fans. Don't know why we have a wiper button, we have no window, but whatever, it's a bit redundant.
Yep. What's the whole purpose of the Motec for people who don't know?
So the Motec is going to be controlling the engine, primarily on this vehicle. We're not going to be using it for too much other than that, and for the dashes to keep us up to date with what's going on.
Yep, so the whole engine system now, some of the technical stuff when it comes to Motec, the Motec M150, it's all solid state stuff. So as you can see through here, and if you've watched other trophy truck videos, there's no fuses, no relays, no switches. But another big thing here with the Motec is we got GPS on our Motec as well. So the boys in the pits, as we come past the pits, they can monitor what's going on with the car, and if they need to make any tuning adjustments, we can do that on the fly as well. And we got all alarms set on everything you see here. So engine speed, oil pressure, oil temps. There's alarms on everything. So if something goes outside of the parameter, it's going to flash up an alarm straight away. Then Jamie's job will be to ascertain exactly what's going on. Whether we can keep going, we've got to stop. Maybe we've thrown a belt on the dry sump, on the oil pump. We're going to know by the oil pressure there as well, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. Now, when it gets back to that fighter pilot stuff I was telling you before, you see these big tubes. Jamie's got one as well. Show us that. So what we've got here is we've got helmet pumpers. So fresh air is being filtered in the back of the cab there. that switching on right there. So this is plugged into the top of our helmet. It pressurizes the inside of the helmets because we've got an open windscreen, that the dust doesn't get filled with our helmets. This little cable here is our comms cable. So that's obviously plugged in so we can talk to each other, because without that it's impossible to communicate. We can talk to other drivers, and we can hear from race.
Who's our beer sponsor?
Beer sponsor? Yeah, this is a pretty cool one in this truck. So for the big races,
the most important button?
Yeah, we got a little drink button there. So right down in beside Jamie down there, there's a drink bottle and a hose. He'll plumb that up to his belt so we can both put water straight into our mouths. Put water into our mouth. We can both have a drink when we need to. Now, what I'll quickly touch on here is I'm going to touch on the 6-speed gearbox. Now, this is something that I haven't really spoken about yet. This is an Australian product. It's called an Albin sequential, but these operate a little bit differently than other sequentials. There is no clutch. It has a torque converter like an automatic gearbox. But what I can do here, there's a little strain gauge here, so it senses the amount of pressure that I put on, and we can just bang through 6 speeds, so we can go through 6 gears. These are made right here in Australia. They're originally developed for V8 supercars, eh?
Yeah, they've been running for a while. V8's introduced them about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They've been in motorsports for a very long time. We were actually looking at them and using them when I was in the States racing the Subarus.
In the Rexies?
Yeah, back in the day.
But these are, apparently, I'm told, that they are completely unbreakable. Now, another big advantage with the Albin's gearbox, in the back of the box there's a set of drop gears. So depending on the size of tyres that we're running, we can change out gears in about 10 minutes. Once we pull all the covers off and we've got access to the box, there's a cover plate, you slide the gears out, put some new gears in. I've got a handbrake here as well. The handbrake is not used that often. I'll flip this around and I'll show you what I've got going on. So I've really got really simple stuff going on here because Jamie's got everything that we need for the car over there. I've just really got RPM. I've got shift lights up at the top there. We do have the rev cut set at 7,400 RPM at the moment. And then I've just got my basic switches for this side, and then down the bottom I've got really the most important thing, which is the throttle. I don't know if you've got enough light there, but you can see I've got a little hook in my toe, so when we're going over the whoops, I can actually really control the throttle and hold the thing at a constant RPM. We've got fire suppression in here as well. What's the number one thing that scares you about being in a race car?
Getting trapped.
I've said it from day one. The one thing that really scares me about these things is really getting trapped in the car in the event of a fire. But we've got these 2 big red pull cords here. That'll be Jamie's job in the event of an accident and you smell fire. Safety's pretty important when it comes to these things, eh?
Yeah, I think that's a main fear for just about anybody.
Yeah.
Apart from that, send it.
Are you scared?
Not really, to be honest.
Really?
Yep.
I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit scared. I'm nervous.
My job is to be calm.
I know, you need to do what Tommy did for me. And I've got to say, look, it's it's going to be a whole new thing that me and Jamie have got to learn here. And I think it's it's kind of weird because me and Tommy have built that relationship at Fink over the past 3 years. One thing that he has been extremely good at is keeping me focused. We've never had an accident, and that's due to him. He knows when I'm pushing the boundaries.
Everybody needs a little time away. I heard her say from each other. Even lovers need a holiday. Far away from each other. Hold me now.
I can't believe we made it come here, brother. I wouldn't have done it with anyone else, mate. I'm glad you were with me, mate. Yeah? You and me both. You feel good? You gonna cry on me?
After all that we've been through.
Because it's so hard, Like it's hard. You bond with someone to get your team to somewhere that not many people get. I mean, no one's here, It's really hard.
Couldn't stand to be kept away just for the day.
Welcome to Fake, Tommy! Welcome to Fake, Tommy!
Yeah! From the one that I love. Oh, no. It's hard for me to say I'm sorry.
But on the flip side, it's up to these guys, because when you're driving, you get into this, I don't know, this trance, and sometimes you start slowing down. So his other job as well is if I start getting too comfortable and he knows I can push it, we can brake later,
100%.
you know, check up a little bit later into the corners and those sorts of things. That's all part of his job, but that's something we've got to learn together. But I think, like I said from the start, from a mechanical perspective, there's no one else I'd rather have sitting beside me than him. Yeah?
No, looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right. Full send. Let's get back out of the truck.
Done.
That's about a wrap. The Patriot Trophy Truck is now finally here. I've got to say, like, at least 20 years in the making. My race team, we're spanners. Dave, get in here. And the person that allowed all of this to happen, yeah, Mia.
Thanks, Mia.
Mia, thank you very much for allowing Daddy to buy a trophy truck. All jokes aside, this is something I've wanted for a long time. We're now committed. The team is committed. These are the people that are going to be behind us. You're going to see a lot more people from Patriot Campers getting involved with the skill set we've got. 2 cars now, the 484 and the 688 car. Now we're members of the club, eh?
Yeah, this
you know?
is exciting.
But the only thing left to do now is to find out whether I've actually got the talent to be able to drive this thing, I suppose. You sure you're not scared?
Mate, childhood dream, mate.
Yeah? Childhood dream for all of us. We can't leave all you guys hanging. Let's fire it up. 484, full send.